Hi, for my lightning strike this semester, I'll be focusing on the rucksack placement based on gender. For my PICO question, um, does the placement of the rucksack based on gender, such as male and female, differ? And when it differs, will that affect the prevalence rate of low back pain as the soldiers get older and age out of the military? The history on this is that females just entered the combative role in the Army in 2016. In previous years, they were allowed in the military but not allowed in combat roles, such as infantry, Cav Scout, and so on and so forth. This received a lot of backlash from a lot of the older males in the military in consideration with concerns of will the female be able to pull a fallen soldier out of a combat area to save his life. Um, the Army took this into consideration, and what they did is they pushed out the previous physical fitness testing, which was based on gender and on age, meaning that if you were a female and if you were older, it was easier to pass the fitness standards than if you were a younger male. However, with the new fitness testing, what it's based on now is entirely based upon your job in the military. So if you have a job where you have to lift heavier things, you have to be able to do more versus someone who works more with just paperwork and things like that. That was the Army's way of keeping equality in the combat zones while also solving the issue of will these females be able to pull a soldier out of a combat zone? Well, in theory, if they can accomplish these tasks, yes, they can. Um, a little history also, or a little anatomy, showing, as you see here, that the male shoulders are typically broader with narrower hips, while the female shoulders are wider, or I'm sorry, are narrower with wider hips. Typically, males will hold their center of gravity up a little bit higher, more in the rib cage area, versus females will hold it lower in the pelvis, in the pelvic girdle. Oh, I apologize. Here are pictures of the new combat testing, as well as pictures of why people were concerned with will the female be able to drag the soldier out of combat zone. Um, Moving forward off of that, a little more history on the rucksack itself. The rucksack has been used since the Vietnam War. It has been adapted and altered based entirely on the male soldier criteria, seeing as they were the only soldiers that realistically needed to use it over long durations up until the most recent 4 years. Because of these adaptations, it is designed for broad shoulders, narrow hips. The weight should be placed more on the shoulders. So it's got very wide shoulder straps, and it also has a waist strap, a belt strap, that acts similarly to how a powerlifting belt is used, in the fact that it should be pulled tight, and a soldier can push against it using their abdominal muscles to brace against that belt, and it's been shown to take off up to 14% of the weight. Now, the weight that a soldier must carry is minimum 45 pounds over miles and miles and miles of walking at any given moment. Um, and so some of as you see here, with the soldier on the right, the rucksack should be packed. The weight of the rucksack should be packed towards the top of the rucksack, and at the bottom it should be more of the lighter items. And the reason behind that is if the weight is sat lower in the rucksack, it'll pull the soldier into back extension, which can cause much more issues later on down the line. The back has to work harder to maintain its core stability, and it can cause back spasms. Very common reason for low back pain, especially in soldiers going through basic training who haven't been taught or haven't acted properly when carrying their rucksack. Um, in females, it should be noted that actually in all soldiers, up to a 10% forward trunk lean has been noted when carrying a 45-pound rucksack. However, no significant difference in pelvic girdle tilting occurs. Just slight trunk forward lean in order to accommodate for that heavier sack on the back, so it puts the center of gravity more over a soldier's feet. Um, It should also be noted that females tend to fatigue faster when carrying these rucksacks. It's been seen that females take shorter stride lengths when carrying a rucksack versus when they're not. Meanwhile, males have zero or practically close to zero uh, alterations in their stride length or even their time to stride. So how much time they spend on each foot. But females take longer to take that next step, as well as taking a shorter stride length, making it to where they have to work twice as hard as males do to keep that same pace and to move that same distance. It is also seen that females tend to complain about the shoulder straps being that they are too wide, forcing their shoulders in a depressed motion, causing alterations in their gait and their posture, and being uncomfortable over long durations. So some of the adaptations that are being proposed in the military, in the Army, is that we have a more narrow shoulder strap for females, as well as a wider belt strap, and that when females carry their rucksack, it should be carried a little lower on their back to put that center of gravity back into their pelvic girdle versus in the males where it's up on their shoulders. These are just some of the proposed differences in order to see if this will change the prevalence rate of low back pain and even change the fatigue factors that females feel in comparison to males over long distances. Because as we know, as someone gets more fatigued, their stride will differ, their posture differs, and then they become more prone to injury and overuse issues. So these are the proposed alterations that they will have for females when carrying a rucksack versus a male. And these are my references. Thank you.